This evening I have an interesting, at least I think, interesting proposition to you as we wrestle with going on to the next level movement. I want to propose to you one example of next level movement, one example of next level movement. Our passage this evening is from the book of Deuteronomy, which is in the Old Testament. A very familiar book, not utilized too often, but the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 34, verses 9 to 12. I'm so glad that our young men are awake this evening because I want to make sure that they receive the word out of this too. So if you doze off, I know it's been a long week. If you doze off, keep your ears open. You shut your eyes and keep your ears open, because there's something here that we want to share, particularly for you as well. Deuteronomy 34, verses 9 through 12. And it reads as follows: And Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands on him being Joshua. So the people of Israel obeyed him and did as the Lord had commanded Moses. And there has not risen a prophet since in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. None like him, for all the signs and wonders that the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his servants, and to all his land, and for all the mighty power and all the great deeds of terror that Moses did in the sight of all Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands on him. This passage, these few verses, are a reflection after the death of Moses. Turn the page in your Bible to the first verse of Joshua 1:1. It reads, after the death of Moses. And so this is a reflection of what happened when a great figure, a great leader, a great community organizer, a great community leader, a great scholar, a great person who was renowned and admired by a host of folks, when the great leader passed away. A few things I'd like to propose to you on this evening, particularly our young men. This is one of the most popular verses and passages in the Bible when we talk about mentoring, when we talk about passing on the baton or passing on heritage and legacy. Most people either go to Moses and Joshua, or they go to Elijah and Elisha. And this passage here reveals a number of things that I think most people miss. What am I saying? I'm saying this, that it seems that Joshua, the son of Nun, shows up out of nowhere and receives the anointing and the appointing of Moses. Moses dies, and then Joshua becomes a great leader. When in actuality, your Bible study at home, you go through the books of Genesis and Exodus, you go through the book of Leviticus, and you go through Numbers, and you get to Deuteronomy, you find that every time, just about every time Moses is mentioned, you see some reference to Joshua, the son of Nun. What am I saying? That mentorship occurs over a time span, over a time period. That Joshua was not immediately ready to take the helm of Israel, but that as he walked with Moses, Moses showed him how to walk and how to talk and how to do the things. But you see by the title, I say that this is just one example of next level movement. The issue here is that many people read this passage and say that you're not ready to be anointed and appointed until I die. the only example. And so my challenge to us is to figure out, based on the right time, based on the right place, based on the right circumstances, how do we release and how do we pass on our rich heritage and legacy to the next generation? Is it automatically when we die, or can it also be as we live? It's my challenge. Many of us have had the same situation occur that great patriarch of the family passes away, and everything is somewhat okay because the matriarch is still here. But when the great matriarch of the family passes away, everything's in disarray. Everything's dysfunctional, is what I'm saying. Because nobody really knows where all the papers are. Nobody really knows where all the goodies are. Big Mama used to tuck stuff away so that when the rainy day came, she had stuff. Big Mama knew how to make a meal out of scraps. Big Mama knew how to make sure that her babies and her grandbabies and her great-grandbabies never went without. Big Mama always had a portion of love to give to the stray person in the community who seemed hopeless and seemed to live in silence. Big Mama always knew before you knew to ask Big Mama what you needed to ask. Big Mama always had a hug for you 3 seconds before you really needed it. But when Big Mama goes, it seems that all breaks loose. And so the realization is that this example of Moses and Joshua is only one example. And perhaps it broke then. And perhaps it still works now for certain situations. But I challenge us to think about what was going on along the way. As Moses was grooming Joshua, I would imagine that every now and then Moses was a little tired and said, Joshua, you go handle business today. I'm going to sleep just for a little bit. Moses, as you get older and you're not as quick and fast as you were. Joshua, go ahead and make sure the folks in that town are taken care of. I'll be probably 2 or 3 days behind. But go, you know what to do. And you find this model time and time again. Even in the New Testament, as Jesus gathers his disciples, and the beginning conversations were follow me so that I can show you what to do. But if you pay attention, the later conversations are go. I'm going to be over here. When I get done, do what I'm going to do. I'm going to join you. And when he got there, the disciples were, we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do. And so time after time, century after century, we find the same scenario that we are not prepared for the transference of leadership, the transference of power, the transference of the responsibility